Women in Pursuit of Sustainability. And with me here on the podium, I have two very distinguished speakers that are, Cristina, you're the chair of the Women in Resource Management Working Group at EGRM. And Cristel, you're part of the working group. Yeah. So, and Cristina works with, so small, I have.
Do you want me to
say something? Saipem. I wanted to say Saipem. And Cristel is with us from the ICE-SRM Latin America. And now I hand over, and you're going to give this presentation on behalf of a third member of the working group, Cristina Angela Capello. Maria Angela Capello. Thank you. So now the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Erica. For us, it's a real pleasure to be here and to give this presentation for you so you can see why it's women important in resource management. It's not just a thing of a quota, but it's a thing of diversity and inclusion. And we are not just talking about women, we are talking about human rights. So as the title that you see here, it's the leadership role of women in pursuit of sustainability. And here is the learnings from the C-suite analysis, Maria Angela Capello, that it's our partner at the group. That's her, just to introduce her. And why this? Well, because the humanity, we are facing three interlinked crises that threaten life at Earth. What is these three crises? First, climate change, that we have talked about this a lot during the sessions, but also this comes together with biodiversity loss, the ecosystem collapse, species extinction, and loss of resilience. But also one that is very important, that it's pollution. The plastic, the chemicals, air and water contamination affects all beings. These challenges demand new forms of leadership, and how this leadership should be. This should be ethical, inclusive, and sustainable. Leadership, how do we know this concept? How, when we think about it, what do we think? I may ask you, if you think of a leader, do you think about a politician? Do you think about a scientist? What do you think a leader should be? Well, no matter what you think about, leadership must be a social process that enables individuals to work together to achieve results they could never be achieved alone. Also, you must set, it is a set of mind and the ability to influence and guide others. This must be in a congruent way. So what we are doing as leaders, here we can see a picture of many countries that having a pledge regarding net zero. In the left side, you will see just 8 of them that will achieve this net zero before 2045. Between them are Sweden, Germany, Australia, Finland, and Paraguay. But 123 have this pledge for 2050, and 5 will go after 2060. But in order to drive this leadership and change and do something in sustainability, this must come together with the help of the companies. And here we have 2 examples, how we driven change from the ground. The extractive sector, what is doing. Both ICMM, that is the International Council of Mining and Metals, and also IPICA, that is the Oil and Gas Association, both publish these roadmaps where they show that the companies and the sectors indeed can be part of this transition, that they can contribute in different ways for the 17 SODs and the different actions that can be taken in order to contribute to this topic that we all together must be working on. And as this mentioned, This is for these older industries that sometimes society just simplify and say that these are the bad or the dirty industries. Well, we are doing also our best in this. Here we have some indicators of how the sustainability progress is in the energy sector. The information comes from the International Energy Agency, IRENA, UNSD, and in general, this is information from the agency progress report of the SDG number 7. We are increasing the access to electricity, the access to clean fuels for cooking, for example. Renewables are increasing as well. Energy efficiency, financial flows to developing countries in support clean energy and renewable energy capacity. Also, we have some examples of sustainability sustainability frameworks here. In the left side, you will see global frameworks. Some are part of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the UN Global Compact that many companies use around the world, the UN taxonomy that wants to avoid the greenwashing and in order that investors can certify where they are investing, the net zero country pledges. Here sometimes what we still require is having some actions specifically of how they will achieve it, but at least they are part of this. Also, what we just show, that is the IPCA and the ICMM roadmap of how this can be tracked. But also we have corporate standards and reporting, the GRI, that is the global report, I can't remember the E, but initiative that many companies use in order to report their sustainability. They use it in their sustainability reports, and others, also the ESG rankings, but also in the right side, those that are science-based tools and inclusion. But how do we go from frameworks to impact? How do we communicate? So far, this is not about the lack of data. The problem is that it is still one way and mainly is investor focused. Also, these take us to the fact that energy is still seen as a sector. It's not related with us, not as an enabler of all human activities as it is in reality. Communication must evolve to connect sustainability with every discipline. That's why we need a storytelling grounded in data, enabling comparison and inspiring collaboration across areas. And probably that is why many of us, we are here because of the UNECE methodology. The UNECE methodology goes beyond resource classification. They are served as a common language to bridge science, policy, finance, and communities, enabling decisions that are grounded in sustainability and comparability across sectors. Diversity as a catalyst for sustainable transition. As we just mentioned, we are facing this triple planetary crisis that requires more than science and policy. It demands new ways of thinking, of seeing and leading. Diverse teams, we know from different reports and statistics, are more innovative, more resilient, and more capable of identifying blind spots. Inclusion of different worldviews, especially for women, indigenous people, and young, expands our ability to address complex challenges with creativity, empathy, and relevance. To tell a better story, we must invite new narrators, and mainly those who have been historically left out of this decision-making. Why? Because the planet needs every angle, every voice, and every solution. And that's why we want to talk about diversity and inclusion in the resource management. Let me give the word to Cristina.
Thank you, and very inspiring first few slides. So let's see what reality is. So, yes, oops, we lost the slide. No, they're back. That's fine. So when we look at how to implement these changes, and particularly with a focus on women, that is the focus of this talk, the participation of women. Let's look at STEM. That is one of the areas where we think sustainability action should start, is still quite far from reaching parity. And these numbers, again, like we've seen also in the last few days, are quite challenging to address the big task we have ahead also for future generations. So this gender snapshot is serving the purpose of alerting everyone of how much needs to be done. If we reconnect to what we showed yesterday about the Beijing Convention happening this year, it is a moment to reconnect with the objective of empowering women, advancing their presence in leadership for better outcomes for everyone. So, but what is the status of things and how women are actually able to arrive into those decision-making positions? Well, from this report from McKinsey, is quite popular to show what is called the female pipeline. You can see every block shows data collected in about 10 years range, and how the situation is in terms of percentage of women entering into companies. Entry level, you almost see a parity of gender. So boys and girls are entering the marketplace work in the same numbers. And then as we move high up in the company structure, we see less and less women. Go back. So we see around 28% of women reaching the C-level jobs. And again, it's interesting to see how these have been actually increasing quite fast. If you look at the slope between 2015 and 2024, a significant increase that we are recording. But yet a lot of talent is lost between promotions and other life challenges. I think a lot of people relate to this. You make decision, both men and women make decision, and often this is the result. And again, there are disparities within disparities. So Mariangela wanted to really highlight this, that there is also additional bias to do with ethnicity and other cultural barrier that even within that achievement, in that 28%, you still see 22% of white women versus, it was a McKinsey report, 6% of women of color. So it's interesting how there are additional barriers to be removed to fully exploit, if you want, or benefit from the talent of half of the world population. And this is applicable not just to the top-level jobs. And so with women reaching only 25%, 28% in the case of the analysis of McKinsey, the C-level jobs, what happened to women pursuing sustainability? Well, we see, first of all, a massive differentiation and non-standardization of roles in sustainability. So we have someone called Chief Sustainability Officer that indicates you are at that level, directorship level, but then you also have Director of Sustainability, you have Managers of Sustainability, you have ESG reporting managers, climate leaders. In every company and every job role that you look for, that takes you to work in sustainability, there is a very large variation of either requested competencies, but also definition of role. So there is no standard. And when we look at where is the background of people reaching those jobs, again, is an incredible variability of starting points. We have seen women starting from the business side, from sustainability studies, so forming in that sector, environmental, geology, biology, so proper STEM engineering groups. I can talk certainly for my company, all the people in corporate sustainability driving change are all mechanical engineers. So it's a very interesting point for me to think that there's something else that is driving people to get into these jobs. And I think that is really the focus of this. And this plot also shows, if we look at a sample of schools that are promoting sustainability courses, you will see some of the top names. Many of us are familiar with the University of Cambridge. They do executive courses for sustainability, so helping people already in the business to work and participate to this change, and many others. But the important thing on this slide is the orange color in the bars. That is other. Again, people are arriving to sustainability from very different backgrounds. And when we're looking at women, then we will see that there is definitely a drive, a common drive. And Mariangela also wanted to explore what companies employ sustainability talent. And this is a little bit misleading because you may think, oh, are these the only one who are doing something? No. What she wanted to show is that many companies are actually looking for sustainability talent. In fact, in her comments to this slide, she mentions that most of all the companies she looked for, they are seeking for talent to work in sustainability. So this is just a small sample and colorful picture of how varied that is. And she, it's an interesting, the research she made was based on LinkedIn. And while we may think that is not representative of all the data that we could analyze on this, I think is a very significant snapshot. These jobs and this availability and search for talent changes by the day. And so LinkedIn is one of the ways to kind of quickly look at what's happening out there. It's just like an instantaneous picture of the search for this talent. And what she found out in the US, she's based in Houston, that Houston is one of the places, big energy hub, where the search is happening, and followed by Washington, New York, Boston. Maybe Los Angeles, I thought, could be driven by the digital side and the digital hubs that you find in that area. Looking at globally, still, again, this picture may look misleading, but I think is mainly based on LinkedIn data and the fact that LinkedIn has portals and translation into different languages. So when you're looking at LinkedIn, let's say from an English perspective, you don't see all the data coming from people who have profiles in other languages. Like I have a profile in Italian. It will never appear on this search. So what we have to look at is simply that in what is available there, there are other regions that are showing that are, of course, important presence of leadership in sustainability, one of which is London, of course, given the presence of large organizations there. I find this slide very interesting. So what Maria has done is really look at, through these profiles, so using the same set of profiles, how we could split a director level and a managerial level and see the difference between men and women occupying these roles. So in the US, as I would say possibly even globally, at directors level, we have more or less a similar split, okay? There is a 10% difference or a little bit less. But what makes a big difference is what was considered a manager's level, where at global level, we see a 63% of women engaged at this level. It's also true that it's a pyramid, right? You cannot have, you can have one director with many managers working for them. So it reflects a little bit this as well. But it's very nice to see that many, many women are actually getting engaged in sustainability at this level. Because this managerial level, you really are, I think, enabling that change. You really have in hand the action that a company can take. Of course, there is a top-down initiative in many companies, but then it's up to the bottom, if we want to call it, but you call it ground level, that people really are making the difference, and women in particular. So when we look at how people get there, Mariangela has analyzed a couple of top leaders. We're not disclosing the names here, but she looked at what they did to get there. And again, you can see on the side, they came from very different backgrounds. So one started in organizational communication. One other person is in geology, and the other one's in political science and business. Again, they are directors of very large companies, this. And what is interesting to me is not as much as where they started, of which we know. You've been a geologist, your career. I think everyone can relate that your career take different paths, and not just because of corporate structure, but your own choices as well. So it's very difficult to kind of define how did they get there. What I think is more significant of this is to look how long they've been in this position. 7 months. The older one she analyzes 2 years, 1 year and 10 months, and 1 year and 10 months. So these are relatively new jobs. I've been in my company for 5 years, and I've seen at this time how the corporate sustainability and the local sustainability teams have changed. And it's changing really fast from year to year. So what it's suggesting here is that today, to reach potentially C-suite within the bias of women advancing at that level, so if we take that aside, you really enter with whatever base is you studied for, and you have to work on your exposure to what the company is doing on this. Take, of course, your own initiative to involve yourself in roles that expose you even more to the practice of sustainability reporting. And then from there, of course, the path is individual, but also sometimes determined by companies. Of course, we don't expect everybody to become a director. Otherwise, we'll be all equal, and everybody will make it a mess when making decisions, right? We have a say, like in my place, 100 heads, 100 hats, 100 decisions. So the path to sustainability leadership is it's long, and a lot depends on your choice to be involved. When we look at the final messages from this, the take from Mariangela is that female professionals have many opportunities to tap into sustainability leadership. She recommends to elevate the knowledge in sustainability. So those universities that we've seen are offering courses for people already in the business for a long time. So they really help you to frame what you need to do for your company, what is the regulatory framework you need to work with depending on where you are, and then expand your social capital, so network and interaction with others. So collaboration with others in the sector, I think, was highlighted to be essential. Mariangela herself is actually working in this field. So she's a geophysicist. She worked many years in exploration in different parts of the world. And she elevated herself to sustainability exactly through this path. So I think there is a lot of her personal journey as well shared here. Learning from about other disciplines, yes, this is very important. As I mentioned yesterday, in a lot of companies, sustainability equals environmental impact assessment of projects. And it's not like this. There are many other aspects of sustainability that companies work on and report on. Of course, it's important to also engage with the company strategy. Most often we hear we see the report from our own corporations, but we're not directly connected with the activities behind. And it's important in every office who is advancing sustainability to really try to include as many people as possible. They don't need to do something, but they need to understand why the company is doing this. And don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to promote yourself and do something about it. And of course, use data and try to demonstrate the benefits of advancing in this sector. So she'd like to share the comment from the UN Climate Envoy Mary Robbins, that's been the President of Ireland, and the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. What women in the energy sector we need to do now is to support each other, cooperate, exchange experiences, and continue developing competency skills to enable net zero target. But I would extend really applying sustainability and obtaining that fair, just transition in this case that we all hope for. So I hope, we share with you fairly what Mariangela wanted to convey out of her research. And please, if you have any question, we'll try to respond. Thank you.
Maybe I can start with a couple of questions. One thing I saw there, you had a curve between 2014 and 2024. It looked very encouraging, the development is, and one of the slides you showed approximately a 50-50 for directors.
So this is the one.
Yeah. Is it time now to say that this glass ceiling is not there anymore, do you think? Or how far away are we from that?
Well, I can only speak for what I see, for instance, in my company. It's interesting, actually. My company, very good example, is a large engineering group. The numbers are available on the presence of women in the company. I think it stems from the engineering field. There's only 10% of women for a 35,000 group of professionals. However, in terms of sustainability leadership, and I'm in contact with them, and I work, and I'm in the UK office as a coordinator for sustainability. Yes, there was no glass ceiling. In fact, I think the manager for sustainability is a colleague who decided to advance this, a male colleague, and then together with a female colleague, they're advancing this at corporate level. So there's been no stopping. They proposed it. Of course, it's a top-down approach, endorsed from top-level board of directors down, but it's really I would say an open opportunity for many who wants to collaborate to join in. And actually very welcome when I did that. The corporate group were absolutely ecstatic to have more people working. So definitely, hopefully not glass ceiling, if not the leadership and the systemic one, that's all.
I do not, it's not related with that, but what I also want to highlight from this presentation, now that Cristina is mentioning all this research made by Mariangela. Yesterday, Cristina presented some of the answers that we have from the survey that we are doing on the UNECE methodology. And what we are seeing is that many of these things, because in today's here we are talking about this leadership and the roles that women are taking. But the fact that we are seeing in this survey is that many women take these roles of sustainability without having a clear role inside the company. Sometimes this is called the MPTs, the non-promotable tasks, because women are glad to do this kind of works just because they want to support these activities, no matter that they don't have an extra payment, or no matter that it's not their role. They just want to do these actions in order to support and take care of their environment, the society and environment as well. So we didn't include that here because the survey is not finished, and we are working more on that. But how, for me, this is my own question, how we want to do it, and how we can move these non-promotable tasks to something that really can take women to leadership, that this work is recognized as something that it's required, and not something that it's just something that we are passionate about. In the survey, almost half of the people that answer the survey do these kind of things just as volunteers. And we, in our work expert group, most of us, this is part, we do it, these actions just because we really care about these initiatives. We want to promote them. We want to increase the knowledge of these methodologies among society, because we care. And now what we want to do is to be reflected in these graphics, and that this can be helpful also for them to achieve their own roles, their own path in their career, and to be recognized by that knowledge.
I need to add one thing to reconnect to something I said on the first slide. What was that connection among this disparity of backgrounds and why it's not relevant where you're starting from, and it's this care, and there are different skills that women actually put forward to be at the forefront of this change. And I think that was exactly what you said is what connected all of those different backgrounds to enter those jobs. So very important to recognize that women really, in a very, if you want, natural way, they care for this change. And this has been studied, has been demonstrated, the different research out there. Yesterday I was reading a psychological report from the Psychology Association in the US, and it's very well defined how and why women are taking this forward. So yes, thank you for that remark. It reminded me.
Not to be seen as a burden, but to see something like as a leadership.
I have one more question, and then I leave it to the rest of you to ask questions. But on your last slide, you had the conclusions were very much advised to women who would like to take this track. So my question is, first of all, is it only the responsibility of women who want to do this? And my second question would be, what can a company or another organization do to enable and develop and not leave everything to the woman who wants to take this track? Have you discussed that?
So your first question, if you can just split it again.
Yes, so this, a lot of the things here are advices to me on how I can move up the ladder.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How companies can implement this.
And support, so it's not only a personal choice.
I think a lot has to be done. In terms of reaching leadership roles, I think we go back to what we've been discussing in pursuing the SDG 5 and how it's a matter of advancing that gender equality objective. I think it's very important because it's a very fast learning curve that how successful companies have done it, it's shared. And others can actually learn to quickly enable women to play an important role in this. I don't think there is a way of doing it, but I think as we are doing for our working group and looking at the women's right and human right is to really share best practices and enable others to learn and accelerate on this change. That's what I think.
And if you allow me to add, it's not just about women. It's about all of us. And that's why in the first slides, we said that this is about increasing the people that it's intervening in this kind of, in the energy sector. It's about women, it's about men, it's about young, because we need to identify those blind spots. And indigenous people, for example, they live other reality and they are most of the time where they are closer to the resources. So we need to learn from those that had not been represented over the years. And why we are talking here about the leadership of women in this topic, particularly because our instinct is to care. And that's why we are promoting a diverse and inclusive sector, because at the end of the day, that's what both of us, men, women, have different perspectives, and we do not compete between each other, and that's something that it's difficult to be shared. We complement each other. And so far, the perspective of men and the way they achieve risk, it's already, or most of it's already there. It's reflected in the policies they are taking, the actions. And right now we need to include those other point of views in order to accelerate this energy transition, because we're really required to do so. So what we are trying to tell in this leadership is like, we can share what these additional abilities and understanding in order to complement what companies can do in order to achieve that transition.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the floor? Yeah, Carolina?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for a very, very good presentation and discussion, a very important topic. And I guess I would like to hear your opinion about the sustainability careers in companies, no? Because what started initially like, okay, it will be good to look like we are sustainable, it has become for companies a must because they need to start reporting, have sustainability reports and have, basically tangible achievements on sustainability. So I would like to hear your opinion about that. Thank you.
Well, I think from the data we've seen, these are new roles, very challenging because they have to deal with very complex frameworks and reporting guides. A lot is done internally through training. So training, of course, is available also outside companies, but there is a big learning curve from within. So it's the ability to share internally to enable that exchange of information, enable people to grow in those roles, because it's not something that from, you go into one of these courses 6 months and you're able to do this. So what I see in my case is a lot of collaboration, internal collaboration between the various stakeholders within the company, having the endorsement of senior management to attend those courses, to grow in that path. So definitely, like we've seen for women advancing, there is a deliberate choice from the top to enable those professions to form, to improve, to grow, and then have the right impact to the organization.
And thanks for the question. In our experience in Mexico, when we were implementing technology transfer, it's a requirement, a legal requirement in the national content. And there are ways that companies can comply with it, and it will be well done because it's a must. But what we found is that there are always ways to take the most out of it. And in many ways, for example, if we see the 12 principles of the UNRMS, you can comply with some of them, but now what we are, with all of them, but what we are seeing is that if you add or include the gender perspective in all of them, you make sure that women participate, that women are part of the decision making, and they can be included in circularity, that the fact that transparency, it's not just transparency, you can separate and disaggregate the numbers in order to check that balance, is how you go and put one step forward in order to achieve that and to as I mentioned, to take the most out of it. Probably that's why women we are most, that's part of our nature, to try to give an extra if that extra can help someone else that probably was not before included. So it's part of our responsibilities, yes, but let's see it also as an opportunity to be better and to take a step towards energy transition.
There's maybe one thing worth mentioning on Carolina's question. We looked at a snapshot of what is the situation today, so a lot of growth, internal growth. And I've been thinking, though, it would be important to do a gap analysis to what instead the academia is sending out to the industry in this sector. So how many universities are actually forming sustainability professional, and how, of course, the growth in the company, how companies are mapping what they need or matching what they need to what university are forming. And I think that's something that needs to be improved, looked after, and of course, grown, needs to be advanced. But yeah, so I think looking at this now is what we see today. So we're almost catching up with this position. It's like a framework has imposed those changes and reporting faster than what people could learn about. And we're lucky to have experienced colleagues that maybe have learned more and worked more in the sector. But I think there will be this pipeline of new professions to look after and see how universities are forming sustainability professionals, yes.
Matthias?
Thank you very much. Thank you, first of all, Cristina and Cristel, for a very exciting and inspiring talk. I really want to applaud you for that. And I've got a couple of questions that I would wish your insights in. One is, do you see anything we can learn from the safety journey that we have been on in the industry? So what I'm saying is safety was always seen as something one should do as an extra, and we never really did well as an industry or as a set of industries, including, by the way, the public side and the governance. Now that we've seen net zero is not only desirable but possible, and that people don't have to be killed anymore when we do our operations, we also have learned that this is actually good business. There's no single company out there anymore that can do good business without having a good safety record. So if I think about sustainability, and thinking about this, making this a business case, brings this not as a non-promotable task, but as an essential task for making good business. That speaks to investors, that speaks to those that are currently seem to be blocking women careers and non-promotable tasks are for someone else, but not me. So the first question is, what can we learn from this safety journey in terms of sustainability and diversity? The second question that I would like to ask is about leadership traits and behaviors. We have seen in the past that leadership was much top-down, almost authoritarian-like, with not much inclusion at all. Now we see that modern leadership is all about making sure you carry people along, you provide them purpose, and you motivate them, and you include them. So in that regard, gender may not bring anything, but the different aspects of the traits that you associate with female, like empathy, like care, like listening and listening to others and understanding. This is paramount of importance with making good decisions and carrying the whole staff along. So how can we leverage that change in leadership culture towards diversity and inclusion?
Yes, thank you, Matthias. Very, very important questions, actually. So I'll take it on the learning from the HSC side, health and safety. I think, again, there's a lot to learn. As you say, the industry did not start very well, but I think we've reached a very good level today. Of course, accidents are still happening. There's still actions taken outside the norms. It's human, right? In terms of accelerating women on leadership, I think going to the bottom line is possibly the relevant point. So health and safety has provided companies, of course, with the ability to go forward with their projects, bringing everyone, of course, to achieve those results in the best possible way. In terms of leadership, there are many studies actually showing that advancing, let's say, net zero and so sustainability targets are better and faster reached when women are participating, for those reasons that you were mentioning. So it's been studied and demonstrated the economic impact of women in leadership, particularly in sustainability, for these traits that you mentioned. The ability of bringing everybody together. So that picture that we've seen at the beginning on leadership, that simple picture is like a beam of light, right? Oh, sorry, what is that? We're going forward into millions of pictures here. No, stop. So anyways, just to say that the role is not just to go first and in front of everybody and I'm the leader. No, it's what Mariangela tried to share. The leadership concept is a social concept, right? Is basically someone who can bring everybody together and make sure everybody's aligned with the same objectives. So I think this is very powerful. It's seeking for collaboration. It's really leveling. A leader does not need to stand up. Actually, most often the ones who advance better are the ones who are aligned with their teams. So yes, it's, I see this very, very powerful, and it's been demonstrated, in fact, that that brings a very important economic impact to companies.
Thank you, Matias. We have also examples in Mexico. For example, in the mining sector, there are some cases for study that the mining sector use women for the transportation. And they have noticed that the way women drive, it's more constant, is you can check in the use of fuel and in the amount of time they have less distractions, and they notice that they can track it better, because with men it's a little bit more well, it's different. So the fact that they can track this with women and they can map how it's improved have helped the company. So what they are saying is that both of us, both genders, have different capabilities. And what they are promoting is to take the best of each of them. And if you notice that women are better for something, you should focus on that. And sometimes this was misthought that this was just for social issues. No, this can be applied in the operation. You just need to identify where you need to have that continuity and that those capabilities. And regarding the leadership, there's another good example in the studies that when we have environmental crisis, disaster, hurricane, something, sometimes leadership can be seen as who takes the people out and take it to a safe place, and that will be leadership. But what about babies? What about older people that cannot move and cannot be out of the place? Most of the time, the women will stay and take care of those people that were not able to leave the place or to go somewhere else, and women will try to see how they solve that problem and take care of the people that it's behind. So what we are saying is that both leaderships can be right. We need both things. And the fact that we mentioned, we are not saying that men are wrong leaders, but their strategies and their perspective, it's reflected already in what we have so far. We just want to include women's perspective on cases like this. What happened with those that are behind, how you take care of them. Or another example that we have is with water. Many women spend their daily lives going to bring water to their homes, but if they don't have the right infrastructure. So which is experience they already have facing those problems, those issues. Those are the kind of blind spots that we were mentioning. We want to identify them in order that also we can achieve some solutions for those problems that haven't been solved. So that's why we are calling for both type of leaderships, and to learn from them as companies will improve not just in one side, but in both sides.
Yes?
Hi. So I really like the whole presentation here, but I found that the leadership in sustainability is one part of the bigger topic, which is the equality in sustainability. So if your idea could somehow expand further, I would say it's gender equality in energy transition, or it's not just about male or female, it's about the different group of the vulnerabilities. So women is part of the whole group of society, and also the disabled, of the youth. So one way or another, they could be contributed to the energy transition and the critical resource management as well. And for the high rank, for the hierarchy of the social structure, and also in the corporate, I think women could be leaders. And because I read on to other papers, on IEA, they use the data. They use the database, and they had some interesting topics about the clean cooking, which is another topic that is not trying to frame that women should be associated with the clean cooking, but it's a fact that for example, in Africa, the women is still the how to say the breadwinner of the house, that they have to take care of the house, and they have to take care of the clean cooking. So by accessibility of the energy is also one aspect to look at the gap between women and men, and that I think it's a recommendations to go forward in this project, because here just leadership, but outside of the scope of leadership in professionals, I think the gender gap is more than that, and you could have any other point to expand upon. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think you touched upon the key point of the caring, and I would expand on talent advancing, right? So that will pick up any of that diversity that you mentioned, young and who have to deal with different conditions like of energy access. I think fundamentally in this talk, we wanted to show that there is an opportunity, that there is a way to get to lead and make an impact for those changes, because that goes beyond, right, just the reporting side of the corporate world. Here we're really talking, we could expand on leadership as a concept of taking action wherever you are. And so that applies, I think, to what you show, you're mentioning in Africa, women go to take water, they're caring for not just themselves, their family, but their society. So this is a concept that is showing leadership in taking a position to care about others. So we are addressing this through the working group. Effectively, those guidelines that we're working on is really to challenge the resource management world in their concept of societies and social impact of projects, to look at this aspect as well and make sure that there's no one left behind, whether it's a young generation, and of course this is included in the way you're caring for society. You want to ensure that that generation is going forward. And I'm speaking like a mom here, I realize. But we discussed this, I don't know, as Clara here, but we discussed about this concept. It's proven that we are trying to look for the future. And it's almost automatic that you try to protect the generations to come. That's probably why we're very involved and engaged in sustainability. Yes.
Thank you, Tian. Definitely. Yeah, we see these women, or as Cristina mentioned, as leaders in their own families, in their own communities. And that's why we want to bring them and learn also from them. And for us, it's very important now that we are working on these guidelines for the UNRMS methodology, the fact that we must include women and to have a gender inclusive. It's diversity and inclusion, not only for women, but all those minorities that you were mentioning, that they have a seat over there, because all of them have lessons that have been learned and how we can improve things. So that's, as she already mentioned, that's why we are working so hard in order to include in these guidelines, to give one place to all of them.
Thank you for you really worked hard on all those issues, and I know we could spend the whole afternoon to continue discussing, but now you got the snapshot of the work that you do and the work that Maria Angela has done. And I would like to thank you both with a big round of applause. And thanks for all of you who came and participated and asked really good questions. It's now 15 minutes until the next session start. So if you want to ask more questions, if you want to drink some water, the time is yours. And see you soon again.
Thank you.